To make informed decisions about purchasing appropriate assessments or to develop strong assessments, it is important to have a solid understanding of validity and reliability as they apply to educational assessment, which is the topic of today's meeting. So let's define what is validity. It refers to the accuracy of inferences drawn from an assessment. It is the degree to which the assessment measures what it is intended to measure. So, since I already discussed under high quality assessment components, the fifth uh, term, which is the objectivity. So, napaloob po doon yung validity and reliability. So, when we talk about validity, this has something to do with uh, the at- with a test wherein it is concerned whether the information obtained from an assessment permits the teacher to make a correct decision about the student's learning. This means that the appropriateness of score-based inferences or decisions made are based on the student's test results. Validity is the extent to which a test measures what it is supposed to measure. So, kung titingnan po natin, ah, kung valid ba yung test, kailangan po nating, ah, obserbahan yung pagkagawa ng, mga test items. So, based on the validity, if your true weight was 180 pounds and the scale reported that you weigh 180 pounds, that is a valid measure of your weight. Okay? Another example, in the world of assessment, if you wanted to make sure that the measure of a student's ability to do a long division and the assessment actually measures the student's ability to do long division, okay, and not their ability to read word problems or speak English, then that would be a valid measure. So there are types of validity. So we have the first one, which is the face validity. Face validity is the extent to which a test is subjectively viewed as covering the concept it tries to measure. So face validity depends very much on the judgment of the observer. So ito yung pagkakita pa lang natin, masasabi na natin na valid yung test. Okay? It is often considered the weakest form of validity. In judging face validity, you have to consider appropriateness, suitability, and mechanics. So, pag pinag-uusapan po natin ang validity, it is the extent to which a measurement method appears on its face, okay, doon pa lang sa unang kita, to measure the construct of interest. So, we all know that face validity is at best a very weak kind of evidence that the measurement method is measuring what is or what it is supposed to. One reason is that it is based on people's intuitions about human behavior, which are frequently wrong. It is also the case that many established measures in psychology work quite well despite lacking face validity. So, next is the construct validity. So, pag sinabi natin construct validity, the assessment actually measures what it is designed to measure. So, in construct validity, we've defined validity broadly, but it is also helpful to have an understanding of various types of validity. So, based on the definition of construct validity, it is what most people are referring to when they say validity. So the construct is what you're trying to measure, such as IQ test is intended to measure intelligence. Example, you are attempting to measure students' knowledge of the solar system. You don't want to actually be measuring their ability to read complex information text. Another example, this is most commonly an issue with regard to the breadth of standards addressed by an assessment. For example, if you administer an assessment that covers three standards, you cannot infer from those results whether or not a student is proficient in seventh grade mathematics, because that is not what you've assessed. All right, so another type of validity, okay, is the content validity. But before we proceed with the content validity, so construct validity has, of course, types. May mga type din po yan. So sa construct validity, uh, this refers to the measure of the extent to which a test measures a theoretical and observable variable quality such as intelligence, math achievement, performance anxiety, and the like over a period of time on the basis of gathering evidence. It is established through intensive study of the test or measurement instrument using convergent or divergent validation and factor analysis. So, sa construct validity, mayroon po tayong tinatawag na convergent, divergent, and factor analysis. So, there are other ways of assessing construct validity like test internal consistency, developmental change, and experimental intervention. So, pag sinabi nating convergent validity, it is a type of construct validation wherein a test has a high correlation with another test that measures the same construct. While divergent validity is the type of construct validation wherein a test has low correlation with a test that measures different construct. So in this case, a high validity occurs only when there is a low correlation coefficient between the tests that measure different traits. And factor analysis assesses the construct validity of a test using complex statistical procedures conducted with different procedures. So that is construct validity. So tandaan lang po natin yung tatlo. We have convergent, divergent, and factor analysis. Okay, so let's proceed to the content validity. So it is the extent to which the content or topic of the test is truly representative of the course. So based on the content, okay, sinasabi po dito that to produce valid result or valid results, the content of a test must cover all relevant parts of the subject it aims to assess. If some aspects are missing from the assessment, or if irrelevant aspects are included, the validity is threatened. So in the content validity, uh, it is a type of validation that refers to the relationship between the test and the instructional objectives establishes content so that the test measures what it is supposed to measure. So there are things to remember about validity. So the evidence of the content validity of a test is found in the table of specification. So pag pinag-uusapan natin ang table of specifications, we are referring to the content validity. kasi nandoon lahat ng mga topics. Okay? This is the most important type of validity for a classroom teacher. And there is no coefficient for content validity. It is determined by experts judgmentally, not empirically. So let's proceed to the next type of validity, which is the concurrent validity. And for the information of everyone, concurrent validity is uh, under criterion. Okay? Under criterion-related validity. So, pag sinabi nating criterion-related validity, okay, uh, it is a type of validation that refers to the extent to which scores from a test relate to theoretically similar measures. It is a measure of how accurately a student's current test score can be used to estimate a score on a criterion measure, like performance in courses, classes, or another measurement instrument. For example, the classroom reading grades should indicate similar levels of performance as standardized reading test scores. So one of the criterion-related validity is the concurrent validity. So concurrent validity, the assessment correlates with other assessments that measure the same construct. So sinasabi po dyan sa concurrent validity, it means that the assessment is correlated with other assessments that measure the same thing. For example, for a real world example, if your scale reported that you lost 30 pounds, you would expect that your clothes would also feel looser because the fit of your clothing is another assessment of your weight. Another example, you design a mathematics assessment, you would expect scores to fairly closely parallel students' math grade, such as students score highly, etc. If they don't correlate, one or both of the assessments may not provide valid inferences. So in this case, you would want to triangulate your assessment data by bringing in a third measure. So this probably sounds like common sense, and in many ways it is. You most likely already intuitively understand this and draw upon this understanding without calling it concurrent validity. So another type of criterion-related validity is the predictive validity. So predictive validity, the assessment predicts performance on a future assessment. So sinasabi po dyan sa predictive validity po, um, if you want to use an assessment to predict students' performance on a future assessment, it needs to have predictive validity, such as a scholastic aptitude test or the SAT was designed and is intended to be used to predict freshman year grades. Another, administering employment tests to job applicants and then seeing if those test scores are correlated with the future job performance of the hired employees. So predictive validity is a type of validation that refers to a measure of the extent to which a student's current test result can be used to estimate accurately if the outcome of the student's performance or the outcome of the student's performance at a later part or later time. It is appropriate for tests designed to assess students' future status on a criterion. Regression analysis can be used to predict the criterion of a single predictor or multiple predictors. So, of course, Validity is closely tied to the purpose or use of an assessment. So we don't ask, is this assessment valid? Rather, we are going to ask, are the inferences I'm making based on this assessment valid for my purpose? So, of course, often we hear people questioning whether or not an assessment is valid. What they are really questioning is whether or not the inferences being made on the basis of assessment are valid. For example, imagine that you are trying to determine students' proficiency in English. If you give them an assessment in Filipino, you would not be able to infer that they are or are not proficient in English. So there is nothing wrong with the assessment itself, but it does not allow for the inferences that you are trying to make. So first, validity is about providing strong evidence. Evidence-centered design boosts validity. Uh, what do you want to know? How would you know? And what should the assessment look like? It may be a bit tricky to wrap your head around the distinction. One way to bring it back is to remember that validity is really all about providing strong evidence of your claims about student learning. So you may heard about or you may have heard the term evidence-centered design. So what that means is that you start with your purpose, asking, do you want students to know and be able to do? So what is the construct? Then you consider how you would know if they know or can do that. What would it look like? Finally, you design an assessment around that. The form of the assessment should follow the function it is being asked to perform. Using this process will help ensure that the inferences made from an assessment are valid. So for example, in a driving test, you want to know if a person knows the rules of the road and can drive safely. What would that look like? Well, they would be able to articulate the rules of the road and apply them as they actually drive around in a safe manner. So based on that, you might design a two-part assessment that asks them to first articulate the rules of the road, either orally or in writing, and second, drive around with you in a passenger seat. All right, so before we proceed with reliability, may I present with you the the factors or the important things to remember about validity. All right, so I just stop sharing the PowerPoint presentation and then proceed to the handouts. So there are important things to remember about validity. So first, validity refers to the decisions we make and not to the test itself or the measurement. Like reliability, validity is not an all or nothing concept. It is never totally absent or absolutely perfect. A validity estimate called a validity coefficient refers to a specific type of validity. It ranges between 0 to 1. So, even when pag nag-compute po tayo, if we make sure that the test is valid, ang magiging result po natin is from 0 to 1. Same with the difficulty value, okay, in item analysis. So, validity can never be finally determined. It is specific to each administration of the test. So, there are factors affecting the validity of a test item. such as the test itself, the administration and the scoring of the test, personal factors influencing how students respond to the test, and validity is always specific to a particular group. So to uh, uh, compute for the validity coefficient, it is computed value of the RXY, okay, or the correlation coefficient or the validity coefficient. So in the theory, validity coefficient has values like the correlation that ranges from 0 to 1. In practice, most of the validity scores are usually small and they range from 0.3 to 0.5. Few exceed 0.6 to 0.7. Hence, there is a lot of improvement in most of our psychological measurements. Another way of interpreting the findings is the squared correlation coefficient, or RXY squared, which is called the coefficient of determination. So coefficient of determination indicates how much variation in the criterion can be accounted for the predictor. For example, teacher James develops a 45-item test, and he wanted to determine if the test, or if his test is valid. He takes another test that is already acknowledged for its validity and uses it as the criterion. So, mayroon po siyang basehan na 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 valid na yung test. So, he conducted these two sets of tests on his 15 students. So, the following table shows the results of the two sets. Is the test valid? So, find the validity coefficient using the person R and the coefficient of determination. So kung makikita nyo po dito sa example, there are 15 students wherein ito yung test ni Teacher James. So ito yung mga results ng kanyang test. So 1 to 45 po yan. So kapag tinotal po yan, ang makukuha is 465. Then based on the criterion test, ito na po yung pinagbasehan. Pag tinotal po yung mga scores po nila, 508. So we have to multiply the value of, or the test results from the Teacher James test to the criterion test, which is y. So x times y. So 12 times 16, that is 192. Then we are going to get the sum of the product of Teacher James test to the criterion test. So we got 16,702. Okay, so, and then we squared the value of or the result of Teacher James test, and then we get the sum. So ang nakuha pong sum is 15,487. And then we squared also the criterion test results. So ang makukuha po nating summation is 18,162. If we are going to compute using the person R, so makukuha po natin dyan ay uh, 0.94. And this will be equivalent to 88.36%. Okay, so that is the validity coefficient. All right, so let's proceed to the reliability. So reliability refers to consistency and repeatability. A reliable assessment provides a consistent picture of what students know, understand, and are able to do. So Pinag-uusapan po natin ang reliability. Let's switch gears a bit to talk about reliability, a term we use all the time. And really, its application in the world of educational assessment is not very different. A reliable car is one that you can count on to perform consistently. Worse, it always turns on. Okay, so example, thermometer that fluctuates greatly within a few minutes. Of course, that is not reliable because hindi consistent yung result na nakukuha natin. A thermometer that always reports a temperature 5 degrees higher than the actual temperature is reliable. Uh, it is consistent but not valid. Like what I said in the previous topic, that a reliable test is not always valid, but a valid test is always reliable. So a reliable educational assessment will yield similar results if it is administered more than once to the same group of students. So a student who scores highly on the assessment the first time is likely to score highly the second and third times. All right, so there are also types of reliability. Okay, so in addition, pag sinabi nating reliability, it has something to do with the consistency with which it yields the same rank for individuals who take the test more than once. That's from Kubishin and Borich in 2007. As what I have mentioned in the previous topics, that is how consistent test results or other assessment results from one measurement to another. A test is reliable when it can be used to predict practically the same scores when tests administered twice to the same group of students and with a reliable index of 0.60 or above. So the reliability of a test can determine by means of the person product moment of correlation, Sperman-Brown formula, Kuder-Richardson formula, the Cronbach's alpha, etc. So pag reliability of the test ang pinag-uusapan natin, we are going to observe for that the results kung consistent ba. Pero kapag validity, we are uh, looking for the test. Okay? So there are factors affecting the reliability of a test. Of course, the length of the test, moderate item difficulty, objective scoring, heterogeneity of the student group, and limited time. So the first type of reliability is the test-retest reliability, wherein it is the extent to which scores on the same measured variable correlate with each other on two different measurements given at two different time. So pag sinabi nating test-retest reliability, it is the type of reliability uh, wherein you are going to determine by administering the same test twice to the same group of students with any time interval between the tests. So the results of the test scored are correlated using the person product correlation coefficient or the value of R. Okay, parang ganun sa pinag-compute natin kanina in the validity. And this correlation coefficient provides a measure of stability. So this indicated how stable the test result over a period of time. So next type of validity is the split half reliability. So split half reliability, a test for a single knowledge area is split into two parts and then both parts given to one group of students at the same time. So another term for split half reliability is what we call internal consistency reliability. So split half administer the test once and score two equivalent halves of the test. To split the test into halves that are equivalent, the usual procedure is to score the even numbered and odd numbered test items separately. So this provides two scores for each student. The results of the test scores are correlated using the Sperman-Brown formula, and this correlation coefficient provides a measure of internal consistency. It indicates the degree to which consistent results are obtained from two halves of the test. So kung dun po sa una, test retest, so halimbawa nagpa-exam ka ngayon, then ipapaulit mo yon na pa-exam bukas. Okay? Kapag consistent yung result na makukuha, then that is reliable by using the person R. Pero pag split half, isang beses lang. Pero hahatiin mo yung scores. So halimbawa 50 students, kukunin mo yung score ng mga nasa odd number, then scores ng mga nasa even number. Then you are going to compare if the results are consistent. But the formula that will be used in the split half is the Sperman-Brown formula. Okay? Next is the equivalent forms reliability. So the extent to which two equivalent variables given at different time correlates or correlate each other. So in the equivalent forms, pwede po itong maging parallel or alternate forms. It is a type of reliability is determined by administering two different but equivalent forms of the test to the same group of students in close succession. The equivalent forms uh, are constructed to the same set of specifications that is similar in content, type of items, and difficulty. So the results of the test scores are correlated using the person product correlation coefficient, and this correlation coefficient provides a measure of the degree to which generalization about the performance of students from one assessment to another is justified. It measures the equivalence of the test. So, dito naman po sa equivalent, parallel, or alternate forms, same exam. Halimbawa, yung pina-exam mo sa section A, ipapa-exam mo sa section B. Different groups, pero parehas po yung forms of the test. Okay? That is equivalent forms reliability. There is another type, which is the Kuder-Richardson formula. Okay, so ang Kuder-Richardson formula, okay, let's stop sharing this slide and then share the handouts. So pag sinabi nating Kuderson-Richardson formula, or Kuder rather, Kuder-Richardson formula, you are going to administer the test once. Score the total test and apply Kuder-Richardson or KR formula. The KR20 formula is applicable only in situations where students' responses are scored dichotomously. Dicho means two, and therefore is most useful with traditional test items that are scored as right or wrong, true or false, and yes or no type, the alternate response type. So KR20 formula estimates a reliability, provide information on whether the degree to which the items in the test measure is of the same characteristic. It is an assumption that all items are of equal in difficulty. So another formula for testing the internal consistency of a test is the KR21. So bukod doon sa KR20 or the Kuder-Richardson formula, mayroon din pong KR21, which is not limited to test items that are scored dichotomously. All right, so just remember, sinasabi po dito that an assessment is highly reliable is this is not necessarily valid. However, for an assessment to be valid, it must also be reliable. All right, so as you can see in the figure, na ipe-present po natin, figure 1, of course, they are both reliable and valid. Pero pagdating sa figure 2, reliable but not valid kasi consistent, isa yung target pero hindi niya na meet yung center. Okay? Then figure 3, neither reliable nor valid. Okay? So, in improving validity and reliability, you have to ensure questions are based on thought curricula. So, dapat lahat ng mga uh, kasama doon sa test ay naituro. Ensure questions are based on standards. Allow students to demonstrate knowledge or skills in multiple ways. Ensure a variety of item types such as multiple choice, that's under selected response, and then constructed response. Ask questions at varying deep of knowledge levels. Ensure accurate test administration. Include items that address the full range of standards. Include multiple items that assess the same standard. And review score reliability when necessary. So when purchasing a new assessment, these are things that you should be looking for. And of course, they are very helpful for guiding development of an assessment that can be the basis of valid inferences about student achievement. So when we say scorer reliability, based on the presented slide, we are talking about the consistency of scoring across various scorers. Essentially, would the student receive the same score regardless of who is scoring the assessment? If so, you have the inter-rater reliability. So using scoring guides, common rubrics, or benchmark student work help with this, as well as scorer norming exercises, such as reviewing samples of student work and comparing and discussing scores. So, based on the reliability, para mayroon po tayong example, okay? So, if we are going to compute for the reliability, kukunin po natin yung reliability coefficient. Same true with what we get in the validity coefficient. So pag sinabi nating reliability coefficient, it is a measure of the amount of error associated with the test scores. So the reliability coefficient has the following description. Same din po yung range sa validity coefficient, that is from 0 to 1.0 or 1. And the acceptable range value is 0.60 or higher. So para masabi nating reliable yung ating test, dapat ang value po ng reliability coefficient ay 0.60 pataas. So the higher the value of reliability coefficient, the more reliable the overall test scores. Then higher reliability indicates that the test items measure the same thing. So how do we interpret the reliability coefficient? So the group variability will affect the size of reliability coefficient. Higher coefficient results from heterogeneous groups than from the homogeneous groups. As group variability increases, reliability goes up. So scoring reliability limits the score reliability. If tests are scored unreliable, an error is introduced. So this will limit the reliability of the test scores. Test length affects test score reliability. As the length increases, the reliability tends to go up. Then item difficulty affects test score reliability. As test items become very easy or very hard, the test reliability goes down. So as you can see, this is the level of reliability coefficient. So kapag above 0.90, that is excellent reliability. From 0.81 to 0.90, very good for a classroom test. 0.71 to 0.80, so good for classroom tests. There are probably few items need to be improved. From 0.61 to 0.70, somewhat low. The test needs to be supplemented by other measures. So more tests to determine grades. Then 0.51 to 0.60 suggests need for a revision of tests unless it is quite short of 10 or more fewer items needs to be supplemented by other measures. So more tests for grading. If the result is 0.50 and below, it is questionable reliability. So this test should not contribute heavily to the course grade and it needs revision. So let's have examples. So pag kukunin po natin ang reliability, halimbawa, Prof. Joel conducted a test to his 10 students in his elementary statistics class twice after a one-day interval. So the test given after one day is exactly the same test given the first time. The scores below are gathered in the first test, okay, and second test. So ito po ay halimbawa ng test retest method. So hanapin natin kung reliable ba yung test na binigay ni Professor Joel. So there are 10 students. Ito po yung mga scores nila sa first test and second test. So kukunin natin yung product ng dalawa, then we get the total. And then this one, we squared the result of the first test, and then squared the result of the second test. Then i-total natin. So table po ang gagawin. So ito po yung pag-compute ng person R. This is the formula. So this will be N times the summation of the product of XY. Ito po yun, 9,192 minus the product of the sum of X and sum of Y. So, multiply natin yung 274 times 316. Okay, so divided by the square root of N, that is 10 times X, the summation of X squared. This is 8,332 minus the squared of the sum of X, which is 274 squared, multiplied to N times the summation of Y squared, which is 10,400 minus the squared of the summation of Y, which is 316. So, i-square po natin yan. Wherein, ang makukuha po nating reliability coefficient using the person R using this formula ay 0.91. That means it has a very high reliability. So, puntahan natin yung interpretation. So, excellent reliability po siya. So, the scores of 10 students conducted twice with one-day interval are consistent. Hence, the test has a very high reliability. Okay? Another example, Professor Glenn conducted a test to his 10 students in his chemistry class. The test was given only once. The scores of students in odd and even items below were gathered. The odd items and even items. So, gagamitin naman natin dito is the split half method or the internal consistency reliability. Okay? It is the test reliable? So, there are 10 students. Ayan. So, kung yung exam or yung test ay ah, okay, 40 items, 50 rather. So, kung 50 items po yun, kukunin natin yung odd number na scores and then even number na scores. So, same na 10. So, kung 50, 25, 25. Alright, so ang gagamitin natin na formula dito ay yung sa Sperman-Brown. So we have to use the Sperman-Brown formula to find the reliability of the whole test. So same din yung gagawin nating table. Okay? At una, to get the Sperman-Brown formula, we have to use the person R. Okay, so first is to use the person product correlation coefficient formula to solve for the R. Then find the reliability of the original test using the formula. Okay. So R full 2 times R half over 1 plus R half. So, ang makukuha po natin dyan, the reliability coefficient using the Sperman-Brown formula is 0.50, which is questionable reliability. So, hence, the test item should be revised. So, ang nakuha natin is 0.50. So, nandito po siya sa questionable reliability. Okay? Let's have the third example. Miss Tan administered a 40-item test in English for grade 6 pupils in UEPLES. Okay? So, below are the scores of 15 pupils. Find the reliability using the Kuder-Richardson formula. So, these are the scores of the students. So, 40-item test po yan. So, first is to solve the mean and the standard deviation of the scores using the given table. So, if we are going to solve for the standard deviation, this will be the formula where population standard deviation is equal to the summation of, okay, so the xi is the value or each value from the population minus the population mean, then squared po yan over the number or the size of the population. Then step 3 is to solve for the mean using the formula summation of x over n. Then this will be the KR 20 to solve the reliability coefficient. So, ang nakuha po na reliability coefficient using the KR21 is 0.89, which means that the test has a very, very good reliability, meaning the test is very good for a classroom test. So those are the formula in finding the reliability of the test. So, okay. So we are done with the validity and reliability.